Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the live stream. It is Friday. It is time for us to go to work. I am so excited to have you guys here tonight because we're talking about preparing for 2024, and we're going to start with the thing that is the absolute hub of your entire productivity system, more than any other part of your system, your calendar. And that is because all of us have the same 24 hours in a day. None of us have any more or any less. If you wake up at 12:01 a.m. and you fall asleep at 12 p.m., that's 24 hours, or 12 a.m. again, it's 24 hours. So that's the time that we have to accomplish everything. And so in 2024, we're going to conquer it. That's right. We're talking about using your calendar, mastering it to conquer 2024, to do more than you've thought you could do, to accomplish so many more dreams than you thought that you could accomplish. And the things that you didn't accomplish this year that you want, we're going to talk about it. I am excited to have you all here. I'm going to say hello to a few folks. I see you out there, Roy. Thank you, Frank. I see you. Natalie, I see you. We're going to get some comments up on the screen later, but let's get right into it because we've got about three things I'm going to talk, three strategies I want to share with you tonight and dig into. And while I'm sharing them, put comments in, put questions in. If you have a question, I love to see those. So put a Q colon in front of it, and I will come back and answer your questions, whether it's a capital Q, lower Q, I don't care, but Q colon and ask your question. We'll get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about, you guys, those who know me, you know I start with assessment. Complete a 2023 calendar assessment. Yeah, I wrote it twice, right? Complete a 2023 calendar assessment. If you haven't done that already, do it this month of December. What does that look like? I'm going to pull my red book out. Y'all know I love my red book. This has my entire calendar of 2023 in it. And I also have an electronic one. I told you I'm hybrid. I use both paper and digital. I've been going through this calendar from January 1, looking at every week, every month, every week to see what went well. So assess what went well. What did you keep track of? Start with the celebration. How well did the features of your calendar work for you, whether it's paper, digital, or both? What worked? If you had a weekly view, did you need a daily view? If you only used a monthly view, did you need a weekly view? What part of that calendar worked for you? Notice I didn't say planner. I'm talking just strictly from a calendar standpoint right now. What what part worked well? That's the first assessment because the things that work well, you want to keep doing them. You want to carry those parts that worked for you into 2024. The second half of that assessment is what didn't work. What did not work? I'm going to give you some things that I figured out for me that didn't work, but I'll also share with you some things that worked well for me. In 2023, I'm going to start with what worked well. In 2023, I switched to an automated scheduling application called TidyCal so that when clients and some of the volunteer work I do, some of those organizations, when they needed to schedule time with me, or people who just want to spend 15 minutes with me, or a one-off consultation, or whatever, a system assessment with me, they have a link, and it's at florencedonald.live, and they can go there, schedule the time with me. I don't have to go do the email back and forth. I don't have to set up the doodle and teach people how to use that because I tried that before. I don't have to go back and forth in text messaging trying to find a time that works for them and works for me. It eliminated me having to be involved because it reads my calendars, my digital calendars, and puts the appointment where I know I'm available and they can choose within those times what works for them. So that's one of the things that really worked well for me in 2023. I will obviously be carrying it forward in 2024. Now, when as I go through my assessments, what is one thing that didn't work well for me? Well, that was I lost track of updating my paper calendar on a monthly basis. I always update it on a weekly basis, but I wasn't consistent in updating the month. I put my live streams in, and the reason I do that is I keep this open on my desk. So when I'm in meetings and other things, I'm not having to open up an application. I'm not having to open up my phone or an iPad or anything. I can just glance and see it. That's one of the main reasons. And I also like to write with the pen and paper. So I wasn't consistent. So that didn't work well for me coming into 2024. Part of your assessment. If you use paper, figure out the thing that didn't work and decide, are you going to just stop doing it altogether or not even try to carry it forward? Or are you going to develop a habit to correct that part of your system that didn't work? On the digital side, I talked about TidyCal. One thing that did not work for me, and I'm assessing how to make it work better, is I put my content planning in a Google Calendar. It sort of worked. And what I found was I was seeing all of that in the midst when I was trying to do regular planning and not content planning, and that was disturbing to me. So, though I need it to be digital, I'm probably going to move it out of Google and put it in a calendar in Evernote, and that way it's not in my regular day calendar. So, conduct that assessment of your own calendar. I'm not talking about writing out the plans of the things that you need to accomplish a task or any of that, not the detailed planning, just the scheduling part of your calendar, because this is where the overalls really have to go to work. This is resonating with you. Let me know. Hit like, subscribe, something so that I know that it's working for you. And if you need to, you can go ahead and hit me up there at florencedonald.live, and I can connect with you and have a further conversation with you about your calendar for 2024 as you go in. The other thing I'm going to say is you're doing the assessment. If you use paper or if you use digital or both, start setting them up now. We're going to talk a little bit more about what that looks like in strategy number 3. So, number 1, conduct your assessment. Get through, write down what worked, what didn't. Figure out what you're going to carry forward, what you're going to start. And I would say just write it out. Don't put it in the calendar. Just write those things out so you think through them. The second thing is, and this is a big one for me, and because the calendar really starts with what does your month look like. So if you use time blocking or time boxing, update your monthly time box calendar. Why? These are repeating, recurring parts of your life. Maybe it's repeating board meetings or ministry meetings or content creation, live streaming, podcasting, some organization you belong to, meetings for your job, meetings with your family, events with your family. Time box those things on your calendar and update it. Are there items that you had on there that you really don't follow it and it wasn't useful for you? Take it out. There weren't things on there that were recurring that you did, but you didn't put them in your calendar. And so when it went to plan an event or put something on your calendar, you double booked yourself or triple booked yourself. Examples with me. I'm going to talk about it from 2 standpoints. Um, I sit on multiple boards and committees and all this stuff. I work in ministry. I do this content creation thing. And so I had to time block all of that out so I would know when am I doing each taking care of each part of my life. So this is I break this up by major areas of responsibility, whether it's my home, me personally, with all my extraness, as I say, ministry, the business here with content creation and personal productivity, and um, my day job. And my day job has its own calendar, and my day job I do the same thing. I time block and time box key activities in there as well. So the second strategy is truly to update that time blocking, because that will then show you the empty spaces or the spaces where you can do something else with it. That's huge. It's going very quickly this evening. Number three is then you've done your assessment, you've updated your time boxing calendar. Now you can see where the gaps are. You can see where the things are clearly that haven't worked, aren't working. The things where you forgot about it, you got to a state of absolute overwhelm. That's a real thing. Your brain will go on overwhelm. You just flat out missed a deadline or a due date or an event or an activity that you told someone you were going to commit to. You did not accomplish something that you had set your heart on accomplishing in 2023 for yourself or for your family. Fix We're going to talk through some ideas to fix those gaps to conquer 2024. Now, my paper. This is my Hobonichi 2024, and there are links in the description for these. I use this as my daily, what I call my daily driver, and it's on the desk. January 1st, I'll pop the one that's in the red book out, and I'll stick this one in there. And the reason I like it is because it has monthly, weekly, and daily calendar pages in it. And I use them in a very specific way. So I would say to you, in fixing, figure out what type of calendar you're going to use. That's number one. Make an intentional decision, whether you use a Hobonichi, whether you use the Focus Planner from James Hicks. This is really great. I don't use it as a daily. I use this to help me think through my big rocks. So that's how I use this one. And if you need something that's just a daily planner, a great tool is this one, the Power Play Planner. This is particularly for Black men. The first part is really a book that you need to read, and then the daily pages are just a day per day. This thing is thick because it is literally a page for every day. So whatever you use, if you use a digital calendar, figure out the same things. What are you changing? I use both because I told you I use TidyCal. But for my practical everyday working, I go back to paper. Works really well for me. The other thing is when you're planning out and you're thinking through, remember to put buffer time in your calendar. What do I mean by buffer time? That means you've got an event or an activity scheduled, put a little bit of time before it and a little bit of time after it. When I say a little bit, depending on what it is, that little bit could be anywhere from an hour down to just 5 minutes. Buffer time to give you so you can get in and out of whatever that is. None back to back without a break doesn't work for anyone. So don't put yourself in the position of scheduling back to back events without a break. That is a huge, huge tip right there. The other one I will say to you, another way to fix some of those gaps is to use technology. If you have to schedule things with other people, you schedule guests, you schedule clients, you schedule coaches, you schedule your whoever. Use some type of digital calendaring like TidyCal, Calendly. If you have a paid Google account, you can even use their scheduler. Zoom has this capability built in now on their paid accounts. So there are lots of different tools you can use. If you want some recommendations, hit me up at florencedonald.live and I'll walk through with you, because it's not everything is going to fit for everyone. I don't like subscriptions, so I try to reduce subscriptions as much as possible. So TinyCal, for example, it's not a subscription for me. I paid for it one time and I don't have to pay for it again. I'm done with paying for it and I'll get all the upgrades. That was the draw for me. Um, so use those types of smart scheduling tools to help you, where you have to collaborate with other people. And this doesn't have to be if you have a business. It can be with your family. It can be with ministry. It can be with your business. Whoever it is, it can be with friends. It relieves the pressure from you and closes a gap. That is the trick right there, closing that gap so that you don't overschedule yourself, and everything that you are committed to, especially being someplace, is in your calendar. Now, let's move on to the last strategy. And this one is a little bit digging down a little bit, and that is start now, if you haven't already started, to simply decide what your projects for Q1 are. That's January, February, March, not projects for all of 2024, just the first 3 months. And do this in quarters. So you'll go through 4 quarters of planning out projects. Two things about that. What is the outcome? What do you want to achieve in the project? That's huge. Get real clear on what that outcome is. If it's, I'm trying to think of a safe one I can share with you for my personal life. Okay, I want to do some work to redo one of the rooms in my home. I want to change the artwork on the wall. I want to do some painting, and I want to do that in Q1. So I know that the outcome is walls painted, artwork changed, some of the furniture changed, some of the lights that I have in that room are changed, and just some area rugs and things like that put down. So the outcome is real clear for me. I'm still mapping it out to get the color scheme right and all of that, but that's my outcome for that project. It'll be done over Q1. I'm not going to probably paint in January. I'll probably paint in like March. That'll be at the later part. But I can start buying all of the other things, whatever I need to buy in January. Actually, before January, try to catch some sales. But January, I'll probably really good catch some good sales. So that's one. Plan out, decide what those projects are, and don't make it 30. 5 to 10 projects is probably a good number. No more than that, because you've got the rest of your life to deal with. And then set target completion dates for each project and put it in the calendar that you're using, whichever one that is. Put that as an all-day event on the day that you intend for that project to be finished in your calendar, so that when you see it, you can see it in the monthly view. You're going to look at your monthly view in almost every calendar first. Make it so that it's visible to you in the monthly view of your calendar. So as we wrap this conversation up, your calendar is the hub. It is the place because it bounds you to the day, to the month, to the week, to the quarter, and truly 12 months at the end of 2024, December 2024. That's the time that we have. We can't buy anymore. We can't make anymore. We can't borrow anymore. We can't go back and steal anymore. It is what it is. Once the time is gone, it's gone. So using it intentionally, and your calendar will help you use that time intentionally. So I'm going to say hello to some folks who are out here in with us this evening, and I'm going to start. I'm going to go back up at the top and see who's here. Hello, Frank. Glad that, what do you mean I'm muted? Uh, Glad that you're here. And I said hello to this young lady, Miss Natalie Johnson Lee. Welcome to the stream tonight. And Roy, so glad. Yes, let's do this. 2024 is going to be amazing. It is. And use some of these tips that I've shared with you, or all of these tips that I've shared with you, to make sure that you truly kick into to 2024 and get done what you want to get done. And of course, my live stream coach, Walter Strong, is here. Good evening, sir. Glad to have you in the building with us. So I don't see any questions, but I do see a couple of comments. So I want to acknowledge those. Of course, uh, Walter, you're greeting other creators who are in the building with us. So glad that you do. Roy, you always have great comments. Your calendar looks like a lot of blobs of overlapping colors. No one seems to know how calendars work. You have to know how they work. You have to know how they work. It starts with you. Um, in my day job, I have a simple rule. If my calendar shows I'm available, it's okay for you to book it. If it shows that I'm booked, do I'm going to decline it unless it's something that really, 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 really is an emergency. And it really doesn't matter. I will decline a meeting in a heartbeat. Um, I have I had someone who said, "Well, you just need to be available when clients want you available." No, I don't. Not in the role that I have. I don't. And so I manage it that way. I also am very disciplined about showing up where my calendar tells me to show up. I don't remember any. If you ask me what I've got scheduled on a certain day, I have no idea. I literally have to go look at my calendar. I keep absolutely none of it in my brain. None of it. And I shared this in an earlier video. I look at my calendar every day as a part of my evening shutdown, and I actually look at it again in the morning when I get up as a part of my startup, my daily startup. And I look at the day before, the current day, and the day after. That's how I'm very disciplined about that because my day will shift. So you control your calendar, Walter. Roy. Other people do not. And I saw, and then you said, you need a paper. I love this. I need a paper calendar that automatically updates my digital calendar. Not there yet. Not there yet. So you're going to have to create a little bit of discipline around that if you want to use a paper calendar. There is a little bit of discipline that goes with it. And I don't update my digital calendar with non-essential things that have passed during the day. I'll do that at the end of the week when I do my weekly wrap up. So as things come up during the day, if I just jot down, I do a one-off conversation with someone and it's not in my calendar, then I'll write it in my paper calendar. And at the end of the week when I'm doing my weekly wrap up, I'll go back and put it. Why? Because that is my driver. And if I need to know when I talk to Susie, I'll see it there. If you have any questions, again, put Q colon in front of them, and I will be glad to answer your questions. That's really what I have. Thank you so much, Natalie, for giving me a little bit of positive feedback, along with everyone else saying great session. This is not, I don't want to overwhelm you. It's easy to get overwhelmed with too much. Three simple strategies is will get you a long way. They will get you a long way. And if you're looking for a paper calendar, again, the links are down below and you can get one of those or get a different one and use them, but really commit to using them. And of course, if you want to have further conversations with me, reach out to me. I'm easy to find. I make it real easy for you to find me. And you don't even have to, like I said, you don't even have to call me or anything. Just go to florencedonald.live and I promise you, you can find a slot on my calendar and book the appointment. And I will show up at that appointment unless an emergency happens, in which case I will reach out to you and let you know that the emergency happened. So that's what I've got this evening. It's been my pleasure to be with you all this evening. Again, I just want to remind you that I'm going to be here the next 2 Fridays, and then I'm going to take a break and close out the year. Okay? And use these tips. Use these tips, and the playlist